Hey, what's up my fish tank guys and girls? Have you ever bought a creature from your local fish store that they claimed was reef safe, and once you brought it home you found out that it probably isn't? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that today as I show you what I've done with the Fish Tank Duplex. So starting with the top tower of the Fish Tank Duplex, you'll probably notice that this is actually the middle tank, and that is because the top tank on the fish tank tower is now no more. I have removed it from the system, and now I'm down to the two 20-gallon long fish tanks on the middle and lower shelves of my 4-shelf rack. Now, in looking at the top tank, some of the changes that I made are pretty subtle. So the one thing that I've done is I've actually added another power head to improve the flow in the tank. These are two of the Sun JVP 110 power heads, both situated in opposite corners, kind of pointing at each other to create some random flow and random chaos in the tank, so to speak. You don't want your power heads pointed in one position. You don't want them, causing a circular or swirling motion in the tank either. So that's why I tend to point them at each other. Now I'll take you through and show you some of what's in the tank here. You'll notice I still have a lot of diatom algae. I recently did a water change in both the top and bottom tanks, but it's going to take a few more to get this under control, mainly because I haven't taken care of these tanks in quite some time. Now the next thing you may notice is that there are actually two clownfish in this tank. I once had a fang blenny in this tank, but unfortunately he passed away. Once again, due to my own neglect, I will admit that. But so I moved the two clownfish that I once had in the top tank into the middle tank. They are doing quite well. They seem to be happy, and I'm making sure that I take a little bit better care of the tank so I don't have another fang blenny situation. Aside from that, other changes include the Galaxia coral that is located in the middle of the tank, along with some flowering cabbage leathers. Those were all in the top tank. I simply migrated them down below. One other thing you'll notice is the fathead dendro placed on the right side of the tank. Now I really love this coral, and I will get into what I mentioned at the beginning of this video a little bit more, and that's about reef safe creatures. But essentially I moved this coral into this tank because I was having a problem with another one of my tanks, which I will show you shortly. But I want this fathead dendro to survive and thrive and grow, because once they grow they're absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to take much better care of this guy moving forward. So as you can tell, the top tank still needs some work. I have a lot of cyanobacteria on the sand. I've got diatom algae all over the rocks, but it's a work in progress. I can't do it all at once, only because I don't have the time. Plus, changing your environment and helping to clean it up is not something you can necessarily do overnight. So there is an overview of the top tank of the Fish Tank Duplex, and I will move now to the lower tank. Okay, so now we're taking a look at the lower tank. Not a whole lot has changed about the composition and the corals in this tank. Most things have remained the same. One change that I did make is that, similar to the upper tank, I added a second power head to improve the flow, add a little more random chaos in the tank, and I will see how that works in terms of improving the environment, improving the puffiness and openness of the corals, and all that good stuff. Right now it hasn't been enough time to really tell if it will make a positive impact or not, so I'll keep monitoring the tank over the next few weeks. As for individual corals, my Duncan coral is looking pretty good. It has a lot of heads, none of them are dying off, but they aren't fully open either. Now I don't know if this is due to the change in flow in the tank and it doesn't like it. It's got quite a bit more flow where it's at now, or maybe it's simply due to the poor water quality because I haven't been taking good care of this tank. Either way, I'm going to keep an eye on it and see how it looks in the next few days and weeks. Probably we'll get another water change in, and hopefully those heads will start to open up a little bit more. In addition, this is a beautiful acan colony that I have in the middle of the tank. You'll notice that these polyps are purple and pink and kind of blue. If you can't see it, they're pretty bright, but you know, the camera might not be able to capture those colors. Unfortunately, a lot of the heads have either shrunk down, a couple of them have died off, again, because of not keeping my water quality in check. Now, I'm not like other channels. I'm going to show you guys the state of my tank and how it looks right now, but I'm going to try to work on it, improve it, show you guys the progress along the way, just so you can see how valuable water changes are to keeping a healthy aquarium. Okay, so now on to the elephant or the shrimp in the room. If you can see this guy under here, that is my peppermint shrimp. He is what I was referring to at the beginning of the video when I told you about reef-safe animals that you can have in your aquarium. Now, everywhere you see online and in local fish stores and at your PetSmart or Petco or wherever you get your saltwater fish, you'll see that the peppermint shrimp is deemed as reef-safe. Now, what I have found actually after having multiple peppermint shrimp is they are not reef-safe. So the reason that I originally purchased this peppermint shrimp was to go around and eat all the Aiptasia in the tank. And honestly, I think he did a pretty good job. Most of it is gone. But once the Aiptasia is gone, I have noticed that peppermint shrimp will turn to regular coral to supplement their Aiptasia-less diet. So this guy in particular, he's been in this tank for quite a while, and I noticed my fathead dendro that I mentioned moving was not looking so good. I came down one evening and I noticed him scurrying away like a thief in the night. Dude, he knew what he was doing. He knew he was wrong. He was running for his life because he was afraid I was going to pluck him out of there and throw him in the toilet. But luckily for him, he's fast. So all I needed to do was move the dendro to the middle tank, or not the middle tank anymore, to the top tank, and just to get it away from him for now. I will say that this guy also ate a disc coral. I thought there was just something wrong with it, and then I realized it was him. And by the time I realized it was too late, the disc coral was already gone, unfortunately. So the next step in this process is to capture this guy and get him out of the tank. I'm going to have a future video to show you guys a good method for doing that because they are very fast. They're very hard to catch with a traditional net. And you will need a new strategy to get these guys out of your tank. So I am going to remove him. I'm going to try to maybe sell him online. I will let people know, like, hey, he has a tendency to nip at corals. Like, if you still want him, you can have him, but just be forewarned. So the peppermint shrimp is my invertebrate that I do not deem as reef safe. Okay, so last but not least, guys, I'm going to show you this sump as it is today and the changes that I've made and the changes I will continue making within the sump to help improve this environment. Now, the first thing and the biggest change that I made is I actually removed the filter sock. I think I talked about this in a previous video, but I just want to reiterate that I removed the filter sock because it kept getting all dirty and it was hard to replace and they were hard to clean. And instead what I did was I created my own rack out of egg crate, and I have 2 filter floss pads on that rack that are much easier to cut to size and replace when they get nice and dirty. Now, in addition, on the left-hand side, you'll notice there is a piece of plate glass. Now, I had that kind of leaned up against there to prevent all of the water from splashing out, but what I ended up doing was I drilled a hole in that piece of plate glass so the return pipe can be flush up against the filter pad, and that plate glass will prevent all of the water from splashing up and hopefully will prevent some salt creep. Now, you'll still notice that I do have some there on the front of the lid and the rim, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be when that was uncovered. I also had salt all over the ground, all over the back of the tank, and all over the rack itself. So I definitely want to get away from that, and that's why I finally cut that piece of plate glass. Other than that, the rest of the sump is doing pretty well. I need to put more sponge inserts on the right side there. I don't have it going completely from front to back, so there is some water that's escaping through there unfiltered. But I've got the 2 filter floss pads, the protein skimmer, I got some live rock rubble in the bottom there, and then I have the sponge filter. So if I start to keep up with my water changes, I think my sump will have this thing looking pretty nice in a couple weeks or months. Okay, so there you have it, guys. There's an update on the Fish Tank Duplex. Thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Hit the notification bell. Stay in tune, stay in touch. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Real Fish Tank Guy. And everybody, you guys got to get ready, because I'm about to have some huge giveaways that I really want to use to propel the channel forward, get some more followers, get some more interest. I want to start the podcast back up again. I want to do a podcast once a month. I want to make it a little more realistic. Every other week, I couldn't get it. It was not even close. So I kind of just let it go by the wayside, but I feel if I do once a month, that's a little more reasonable of a goal, and I think I'll be able to stick to that. So for those of you who have tuned in and watched me for many years now, a couple years, who knows, thank you guys so much. If you're a new guys, man, I'm running out of air. If you guys are a new follower of the channel or a new subscriber, thank you so much for checking. I gotta quit. All right, until a future Fish Tank Guy video, I will see you guys soon. I don't know what I'm doing. Every other week, I couldn't get it. It was not even close. So I kind of just let it go by the wayside, but I feel if I do once a month, that's a little more reasonable of a goal, and I think I'll be able to stick to that. So for those of you who have tuned in and watched me for many years now, a couple years, who knows, thank you guys so much. If you're a new guys, man, I'm running out of air. If you guys are a new follower of the channel or a new subscriber, thank you so much for checking. I gotta quit. All right, until a future Fish Tank Guy video, I will see you guys soon. I don't know what I'm doing.